Welcome to another episode of the Life, Love, and Pursuit of Vi podcast with your host, Greg Gaskin.
And Austin Culp.
How's it going, Austin?
Hey man, doing pretty well. As we're heading towards the end of the year, it'll be great to make one last episode for the podcast before we go into 2024.
I agree. All right, so since it's our last episode for the year, I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas, and we want to wish you a Happy New Year. So, Austin,
absolutely.
What were some of your highlights from 2023?
Oh man, highlights from 2023. 2023 has been a pretty crazy year. I think just overall, it's been filled with a lot of changes for sure. I hit a lot of my goals that I set for 2023. Not all of them, but some of them. And I feel like 2/3 of the list is pretty good. That included hitting a personal financial net worth goal and then reading some new books, making sure I have my, I think I set a goal of like 20 to 30 books for 2023. I'm fairly certain I probably hit that in the past like 3 months alone. But overall,
Nice.
Still working the day job and still doing a few things with real estate. Overall, we're looking to a pretty strong headwind in 2024. But for your 2023, Greg, were there any unexpected challenges you faced, or tell me about those?
Well, for 2023, for the most part, it was a good year. But one setback I had was I had to replace the roof on my garage because there was a hole in it and it was causing water damage to the inside of the garage. So I had to take a chunk. Well, I had to take a pause on my, saving and investing to put towards a new roof. Then I replaced my deck on the house. So a lot of just home maintenance, a lot of things that I wasn't expecting to spend money on this year, but I was like, well, might as well get it done now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've been very thankful that I haven't had any major issues come up in my house yet. But 2024 could change that. But I think it's always good to just be prepared for those things.
Yeah, I agree. Which thankfully I have good credit opportunities to to pay things with zero interest for a while, so that helped a little bit. So hopefully 2024 should be going a lot smoother.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
other than your financial goals, what were your personal like life goals for this year? Like health wise or anything.
It's a great question. Health-wise goals, I think it was just maintaining a pretty strong fitness in the gym. Going into 2023, man, I was still recovering from an accident I had, so it was probably just a lot of getting back into it from January to about March, April. So it was kind of building back up my gym routine and getting back into the swing of things. It kind of knocked me out of commission for a little bit, but luckily enough, I'm back and stronger than ever and hitting new goals in the gym. I've actually started swimming again. That definitely helped with a lot of the recovery from the accident, but and I actually started using the sauna for the first time this year, and it's definitely a game changer.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love me a good sauna session after the gym. Helps me relax and stretch out the muscles in the sauna. Perfect.
Yeah, how how long do you usually spend in the sauna?
I usually spend about 15, 20 minutes. No, no more than that.
Yeah, yeah. That's usually 20 minutes is usually like my go to point, and it sucks because at some point you're like this sucks, but then it's just like 5 more minutes of it, and then you're okay. But in 2023, have you tried any other new wellness trends or activities?
Um, I don't know about trends or activities. I've experimented with like different nutritional supplements. Uh, just because I know that not everyone can get all the nutritional needs they can from the foods that they eat every day. Due to just being picky with what food you eat or just not eating enough. Like so, I've added like super greens and peptides uh, to my protein shakes after the gym, um, meal supplements, just to make sure I'm hitting my my macro for the day. So that's about. I would say that's what is something new that I've tried out this year.
Okay,
What about you?
that's awesome, man. Um, I think the biggest wellness trend was probably just the sauna in 2023. Um, I have some pretty big goals going into the new year, but I think we can get into that a little bit later.
Okay, okay, nice. Have you made any time for your mental health this year?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I would say so. I think at one point in 2023, I think it was earlier in the year, I had gone to therapy for a little bit, and I think it was only for like 3 months, and then I kind of stopped going. You're gonna find therapists that you really like. You're gonna click with some and not do too well with others. But then I started to read a lot of audibles that were talking about and prioritizing my mental health, and it kind of helped. I think it's you kind of have to stay grounded because your mind can wander a lot, and mental
Mhm.
health is just such a big issue that if you don't make time for it, you never will, and then it's just going to keep compounding into getting worse and worse until you get it like in check.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did prioritize my mental health in 2023, and I think a lot of that I can attribute to reading, therapy, and meditation. But you know, for you in 2023, were there any lessons you learned, whether it comes from your W-2 or any other aspect that taught you to help manage stress and maintain a good balance in your life?
Um, for me in 2023, I I learned to focus on. Sometimes you gotta prioritize yourself. Because I would say I'm more of a no. I do things for other people. I'm one of those. Call me up, no hesitation. I'm down. I'll help with whatever you need. So this year, prioritize saying no and not just telling people what they want to hear and stuff. And just like speaking more up for myself.
That's great.
So this is the Life, Love, and Pursuit of Fire podcast. So, um, anything interesting in your love life this year?
Oof. That's a great question, Greg. That's a great question. Um, there were 2023 was definitely a very interesting year for the love portion of my life. Um, Nothing to really share on that front. I have a few stories that we can talk about at another time, but um, not on the podcast. But yeah, what
Okay,
about you?
okay. Um, for the most part, like this is one of the first years that I've like actively like pursued dating. And so, I was, you know how it is on all the apps, just a numbers game. See who you can who you can get to swipe right on you. But I've been on a few dates this year. I've like probably like three or four. With pretty much I would say 3 or 4 dates with like 3 or 4 different people. But so far, you know, things fizzled out on their end, and they chose not to pursue get to know each other anymore. So I am currently still single, ladies. If you're listening, um, but yeah. So going into 2024, we're gonna, hopefully that'll be the year to uh, become from a single income household to a dual income household.
Dual income household, no kids, right?
Absolutely. I'm waiting till marriage. My mother always tells me that every time she sees me.
That's great. Moms are the best, right?
Absolutely.
So I think this is a good segue into going into 2024. Do you have any personal development goals for the new year?
Ooh, personal development goals for the new year. Um, I guess I would say my goals are to continue the progress I've been making throughout this year. So I'm gonna continue to focus on uh, just getting to know myself better. And then hopefully that'll help me develop in other ways. Develop my confidence, speaking up for myself, and being my own advocate. What about you?
That's great, man. I think for me, for personal development, I think it's just a lot of self education on my part, continuing to grow as a person, as a human. Um, I think it's just going to be, I think this is a very common goal for me, but every year it's just continual growth, right? Moving in the right direction and figuring out where I want to go. When it comes to 2024 goals, um, I actually I've started doing this life audit from Mark Manson, and essentially, like, it's like a check in with, are you where you want to be in your life? And I think it's great. And I listen to a lot of Mark Manson stuff, and he has the podcast, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And if we have to bleep that last part out, we can. But uh, it's definitely his website, his books, his articles he's written, and his podcast is definitely a lot of helpful information in it. I think it might not be for everyone, but for the people who it is for, it definitely helps. I can speak from experience myself. But
Okay,
yeah,
dope.
as we're going into 2024, are there any, new skills or hobbies you want to explore?
Mm, any new skills or hobbies? I guess I will want to work on getting back into my photography and video editing. Uh, yeah, because I started that in 2020 before the everything happened and the shutdowns, and then I kind of just like lost interest in it. So I think I'll try and pick that back up next year.
That's awesome,
What
man.
about you?
Are you,
Anything you want to work on?
uh, yeah, I think it's a lot of, you know, I kind of view it as like 4 different things that I want to focus on that I usually try to every year is the emotional, financial, physical, and spiritual wellness of like, um, for physical, it's usually like the gym. For spiritual, it's like reading a lot of Taoist books, and you know, Taoism is something that I very much am more akin to than anything. And then financial, Just making sure that we're on track to early retirement, and then emotional, just therapy, stuff like that.
Nice. Uh, Speaking of being on track for early retirement, you don't. I'm saying you don't have to give any numbers or anything, but how was how has 2023 been for you? I guess with your financial goals. So I don't think we touched on that.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great question. I, the maxing out of all the accounts is, I think, at a minimum, something that I like to do. So financial goals, maxed out all of the accounts. I actually, it's a great question too, because this is the first year that I've been able to max out all my accounts. So maxing like the 401k,
Okay.
maxing the Roth IRA, HSA, stuff like that. And it's been a great feeling because, I feel like once you feel like you're making good progress in the right direction, then it's compounded growth over time. And, that's where you feel like you're making actual traction. What about you? How were your financial goals in 2023?
I would say my financial goals were uh somewhat good. 'Cause, at the beginning of the year, I started a new job. Um, so things were kind of wonky trying to, get like benefit stuff set up and change over accounts to new employers and stuff. But, I still maxed out my Roth and maxed out my HSA. And then, I invested enough to, get my company match and everything. So yeah, so this year's been good. Net worth is looking on track. So 2024, we can only hope for better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a good year of growth, as long as you have the right guidelines in place of what you're trying to do and follow. And I think that's a great next topic to caveat on too, which is, we've been doing this podcast, I think, almost 2 years now. What are your aspirations for where we're taking the podcast in 2024?
Ooh, what I want to do with the podcast in 2024? Um, well, 2024, obviously, want to get into getting more guests and talking to people's journeys and get more into the life and love aspects of the podcast. Talking to experts or at least people with some knowledge in different areas, maybe just like relationships, psychology, or advice on where the world is going. You know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think, while we're going into 2024, I think, 2023 was a great year for us to focus on the FI part of the podcast. And um, it was definitely a uh, good growth year for the FI part, but I think, we need to, like you said, contribute to the life and the love aspect of as well, because that is the two other aspects that we do have. Um, are there any themes or changes you were thinking about introducing?
Um, anything that's I would say, how about we get a fresh new intro for the podcast so we can step up the production quality a little bit. Maybe do like one or two in person interviews. That'd be cool. Like or like in person podcast episodes.
Yeah, yeah, I think that would be great to be able to get a good setup in person, be able to actually have a good live episode. I think the last time we did an in-person episode was probably at Amberly Grant's event. I don't know. I think that was
Yeah,
2022 or maybe 2023. But
I think it
yeah,
was
I know it
2022.
was
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Because I still have the long hair then. um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it'll be great to see what changes. For our listeners out there, Greg and I already have a few ideas of what we're planning on doing with the podcast, and new guests we're actually already reaching out to with that we want to bring on. So it's going to be a pretty awesome, action-packed year for 2024. So we hope you keep listening, recommend it to your friends. But Greg, from 2023, did you have any favorite podcast episodes or moments from the years?
Oh, from 2023, I um, that is a good question. Actually, I would say probably our last guest, because he was so like knowledgeable and like the conversation flowed really well, and he had a lot of advice and information to give, and I just thought that it was just really cool. What about you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think my favorite was probably uh, Personal Finance Club with Jeremy. I think it was just definitely uh, a wealth of knowledge that we got to talk with Jeremy about. I think that was probably one of my favorites. There's so many favorites that it's pretty hard to pretty hard to uh, keep one just in mind when all of them were pretty great.
Oh, okay, okay.
But as I think reflection wise, as we're going uh, more into talking about guests and collaborations we had, do you have any dream
Mhm.
guests or partnerships for the future? Any person you would like to see most likely?
Oh, any dream guess? Uh, I mean, like obviously, I would go with like the big name, people. Um, like guests from the Stacking Benjamin's podcast, Afford Anything, and then we still need to have uh the our favorite conference, I guess provider. I don't know how to say it, but Deanna from Economy. For those of you who are in, don't know, yeah, because she would be really dope to have on. Because like she's a really cool, fun person in person. So yeah, so
Yeah,
couple guests.
yeah,
Who would your dream
that would
guest
be
be for us
great
to
to
have
have
on?
it. Ooh, dream guest overall, I think probably be Mark Manson. I'm a huge fan. I think if I had to choose anyone, I really resonated a lot with his writings, and I kind of helped guide me to a better place in my life where I am now. And I think being able to talk about where he came from and you know how long he's been writing and stuff like that, and be able to like understand it because he's just like a really great great mentor.
Okay.
Yep, but you know let's move into a rapid fire question round that we have that we're gonna go ahead and talk about. Do you have a favorite book or podcast you discovered this year?
Oh, favorite book or podcast? Um, this year I haven't really read a lot of books this year, but some of the podcasts I discovered this year have been like they're more like sports podcasts. So one of my favorite ones is like Gil Zarino, or Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco. Yeah, those have been
Okay.
like the most ones that I've been following a lot this year. What about you? Favorite book or podcast?
Oof. I'd probably have to do two books. One was Unfuck Yourself by Gary John Bishop. Um, I think he'd also be a great guest to have on. And then the other book is Who Will Cry When You Die by Robin Sharma. And, there was this quote that he had in the book that kind of really stuck with me and still sticks with me till today. And it was, um, when you were born, the world rejoiced while you cried. Live your life in such a way that when you die, the world cries while you rejoice.
Okay, that's pretty deep. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I think I'm gonna. I don't know. It's probably one of the most memorable quotes I've heard in a long term time that just kind of stuck with me. But um, if you had to describe 2023 in one word, what would that word be?
Um, One word. I'll say adventurous. How
Why adventurous?
how would you? I did a lot of things like for the first time. Um, like I went to like my first EDM festival, to my first EDM concert. Um, so yeah, so I did some things out of my comfort zone, and they turned out to be great. So yeah, how would you describe your 2023 in one word?
Ooh, um, that's a great question. Probably uh, education. A lot of this year was me learning a lot of stuff to set up for the growth in 2024. Um, all the things that I've gone through is just a lot of great education.
Hmm.
Is uh is, is there going to be something that you're leaving behind in 2023?
One thing I'm leaving behind in 23 is shoot. Dang. What I want to leave in 2023 is the self doubt. That's what I'm leaving in 2023. What about you?
Okay. Something I'm leaving behind in 2023 is probably going to be um uh it's a great question. I think something I'm going to be leaving behind in 2023 is probably going to be things that didn't serve me, things that weren't attributing to my growth.
Okay, I like that. So for 2024, is there gonna are you gonna have any mantra or phrase to carry you through the year?
Um, yeah, yeah, I would say there is. It's going to probably be that the old version of yourself doesn't need you, but the new version of yourself does. So guide your actions as if you're helping your future self.
Hmm, I like that. Where'd you get that one from? That another Mark Manson quote?
That part again?
Oh, I said, is that another quote from your favorite podcaster?
No, no. That's just something I came up with on the fly right now.
Okay, okay, I like it.
Yeah.
I would say,
So go ahead. Yeah.
I
Well,
was
I
gonna
was
say
going to ask
my
what was yours.
yeah, my mantra would be I'm gonna take it from the great Yoda. There is do or do not. There is no try. So either I'm gonna do it or I'm not. Not gonna just try and do things.
I think that's pretty great, man. It's it's a wise quote. I think as we're closing out this year and going into the new year here shortly, I think it's always a good time to reflect and be grateful for a lot of things that we've had. For all the listeners, all the guests, how far we've come in 2 years. How far our podcast has reached. The fact that it's reached 4 countries, including Colombia. Um, it's just it's been very thankful. How are you feeling about the overall journey for us?
Hmm. Overall journey, I am proud of the progress that we've made, and the fact that we continue to strive for better, and that we can only keep getting better. And I want to thank the fans from all over the world, um, especially Colombia, because that's one place I want to go very soon. Um, so yeah, thank you guys for listening, and feel free to reach out and give us feedback on what you would like us to talk about, what you like to see, and how we can improve. Um, so please always like, subscribe, leave comments, and help us continue to get better.
Yeah, I don't think we could have said it any other way. Any other way better than that. But yeah, happy New Year's, everyone, and we're looking forward to hearing from you guys in 2024. This has been another episode of Life, Love, and the Pursuit of FI with your host, Austin Culp.
And Greg Gaskin, Happy New Year, everyone.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Happy New Year's.